creation and also provide the private sector is a partner, should be a partner in job creation, and so should be given an enabling environment to do that.
Okay. Now, talking about partnership, Beatrice, what is NAPTIP doing, to collaborate with developmental partners, NGOs in the fight against human trafficking?
Yes, the NAPTIP, I think they are heavily involved in fighting human trafficking. The development partners, like the report you saw there, one development partners, Alliance for Africa, was in that campaign, and so to ensure they will contribute their quota in making sure that they get to educate the people. They are part of their own bargain of it is to educate, and some other persons have the bargain of rehabilitation. Like also the NAPTIP commander, when he told me while in the interview with him, he told me that they also in the field sorting out for victims and these traffickers, and once they get it, they report to them. But reporting to them, like for instance here in Owerri, there are barely 3 months here in Owerri, and the challenge of where to get them, where to settle, or when these people are being reported, or when they get them, where to keep them.
Yes.
These are all the challenges they are facing. They face a lot of challenges there because they are new, accommodation and all of that. But be that as it may, he told me, the commander here told me that once they need to report to the police too, they get them to the police because of the accommodation problem. Then the ones they need to get to the women affairs, they need, all these are partners. Even the immigration parties, Nigerian immigration parties, they are all partners, and the same NSDC, NSCDC, they are all partners in this fight. And so they are doing the much. Like I was told that barely 3 months they have gotten up to 15 cases, gotten 15 reported cases which they have also attended to. So I think they are doing much in that aspect of fight against, but they're calling all hands to be on deck so that we stamp out this menace in the society.
Okay. What can we say? We hope and pray for better days. And that concludes this segment of the program. Many thanks, Beatrice, for being part of it. Hope to see you again soon.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. Still to come, NYSC nationwide environmental sanitation exercise, the Ebonyi State experience. Join us again.
Nigerian youths are about the greatest assets the country has at the moment. It is therefore not surprising that the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari is strategically responding to the yearnings of the youth through multiple projects and programs. Youth entrepreneurship support years by Bank of Industry, the Youth Investment Fund by the CBN, and several other conditional cash transfer programs. Recruitment of 774,000 social workers, majority of whom are youths, and so many other projects that are beneficial to youths directly or indirectly. If the administration can do all this, definitely with a degree of patience and time, it can achieve more. Nigerian youths must come together to say no to terrorism, no to vandalism, and no to all disruptive tendencies. Hashtag Youth for Greater Nigeria. Pacifying the youths, unifying the nation.
Welcome back to the correspondence. In a bid to impact on their host communities and ensure a clean and healthy environment, the National Youth Service Corps has moved to instill the culture of cleanliness in the people of Ebonyi State, especially at marketplaces. Correspondent Ijeoma Peter Nwante covered the flag-off of the program in the state.
NYSC National Environmental Sanitation Exercise being carried out in the 774 local government areas in the country has as its theme clean environment, good hygiene, panacea for good health and long life. Flagging off the exercise in Ebonyi State on behalf of the NYSC Director General, the State Coordinator Mrs. Mercy Bamai said The aim is to sensitize the public, especially the rural dwellers, on the health risk of poor hygiene.
I wish to assure Nigerians that we will not rest on our oars as we continue to offer health and other services, including environmental protection. I am particularly hopeful about the prospect of this exercise because with regular sanitation, malaria and other related diseases will be reduced to the barest minimum. Let me use this opportunity to once again thank the state governments, traditional rulers, community leaders, and other stakeholders for supporting this noble cause.
Some of the core members expressed satisfaction for engaging in the exercise.
What we actually did there was keeping the environment clean. We swept to show a good example of a good citizen that keep the environment clean, and we were happy doing it. It was really part of fun, and we made them learn a lot of things like towards the health, keeping the environment clean. It also makes them to know more about the health. It even brings more customers. So we were really happy when we were doing that.
But I'm very happy doing it because actually I partake in the exercise very well, making the environment clean. I talk about with the people, tell them how to keep the environment clean, and it was a very nice one. I want to appreciate the NYSC scheme for bringing such program into the part of our program, the NYSC service here. Is a very good one. I want to appreciate them because it's part of our community development service, and it's very good so that we partake in the upkeep of the environment as NYSC members.
Some of the areas covered in the cleanup exercise include the International Market, the Communical Center, and the Periphery Market. Chairman NYSC Governing Board, Mr. Ben Okike, appreciated the scheme for the exercise.
What we are doing now is promoting good health, and that will promote our lifespan.
Some of the traders bear their mind.
I'm very happy when I see the core member sweeping, keeping everywhere clean.
Cleanliness, they say, is next to godliness. It's on this premise that people are advised to take the issue of cleanup.
I quite agree with you, Ijoma. Cleanliness, they say, is next to godliness. We hope this will be sustained throughout the Federation. After all, a healthy nation is a wealthy nation. And that's the correspondence this week. Thanks so much for always being there. Join us again next week, same time, on another edition. And a quick reminder that COVID-19 is still around us. Continue to abide by government regulations and safety protocols. And more importantly, get vaccinated. Take responsibility and stay safe. Bye for now.
We are all Nigerians. Against all odds, we shall and must remain united. We may have our challenges, our problems, and setbacks. However, together we shall overcome them all. What doesn't break us shall make us stronger. This is the mindset that shall bring peace, progress, and prosperity to our beloved country. Do not let tribal and religious sentiments govern how you think, act, or feel. Don't be influenced by those who want to destroy our precious national unity. Everybody who is a Nigerian is your brother and your sister. This is the mindset of the new Nigeria. It is also the mindset that we must all adopt. Let us support each other in creating the Nigeria of our dreams. This message is from the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA.
This present government has done a lot on the train modernization. They came in and completed the Abuja Kaduna, and we have 9 stations there, 5 stopping stations and 4 crossing stations. making 9. And when we started in 2016, we started with 2 trips. Then we later moved on to 8 trips. And we are talking about moving to 14 trips a day. And we have been able to send 10 DMUs, 10 coaches, and 2 locomotives new. We have 12 stations on the Takbere line. It's about 312 kilometer length of track, and it's over 35 years old. And the government came and took it up, finished the track, built modern stationing, and the stations are finished. Working on the signaling. We all hope to start the commercial operation by the end of September.
Star TV Network is a joint venture between the Nigerian Television Authority and Star Communications of China. The 1,000 Villages project is an initiative that was agreed between the, China and African governments in FOCAC. The federal government selected the 1,000 villages, and out of the 1,000, every local government in the country got at least 1 village. There are 2 projector TVs which were supposed to be installed in communal viewing centers. The government allowed the traditional rulers of each community to decide where to site the projector TVs. And then 20 families also got 20 decoders for free. For the communal viewing centers, they didn't have to pay any subscription. The subscription is already paid by the Chinese government for the next 5 years. And they had access to more than 20 channels.
The Ministry of Works and Housing has the responsibility to help.
Creates a regulatory environment that would ensure efficiency and accountability across the oil and gas value chain.
President Buhari approves implementation framework for Petroleum Industry Act.
This will generally answer the question as to the growth and development of civil aviation.
Federal Executive Council approves new airport for Yobe State.
We are cleaning Ogoni land and providing water and livelihood.
Federal government continues implementation of projects in Ogoni, River State.
And on Good Morning Nigeria today, we shall be taking a look at the Electoral Offences Commission Bill.
Since 1964, elections in Nigeria have been problematic. Ballot boxes have often developed wings, among many other offences. Electoral offences remain a significant threat to credible, free and fair elections in Nigeria.
That's right, Kirian. Thugs make themselves readily available for use by some political players for their political ends. Now, after the polls, litigation floods tribunals, and the circle goes on and on, of course. And this cannot, as many have indicated, continue if our democracy is to survive and thrive. Now, to get things right, the Senate has passed a bill to establish the Electoral Offences Commission.
That's indeed right, Kingsley. And the passage of the bill was sequel to the consideration of a report on the bill by the Committee on Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. Chairman of the Senate Committee on INEC, Senator Kaibi Rugaya, said the bill became necessary in view of INEC's inability to prosecute electoral offenders in accordance with the provisions of sections 149 and 150 subsection 2 of the Electoral Act as amended.
Now, with well over 900,000 alleged electoral offenses in the 2011 and 2015 general elections, now the necessity for a paradigm shift on how to deal with electoral offenses has become quite apparent. Now, it's not possible for INEC to prosecute offenses arising from elections because it lacks the wherewithal to cleanse the system.
And as a result of these electoral flaws, 3 committees, namely Justice Uwais Electoral Committee, Sheikh Nuruddin Lemu Committee, and Electoral Reform Committee, were constituted. These committees, in their trial reports, recommended that for INEC to function efficiently and effectively, some of the functions currently performed by it should be assigned to other agencies.
Well, it is hoped that when the Electoral Offences Commission bill passes in the House as well and then assented to by the President, we as Nigerians can then begin to expect INEC to conduct freer, fairer and more credible elections.
Yes, indeed, Kingsley, and the bill already came up for 3rd reading at plenary, so we look forward to the creation of the Commission as it is critical for an active justice system. There are so many issues to talk about on the Electoral Offences Commission bill. We have guests who are ready to enlighten Nigerians on this. So welcome to Good Morning Nigeria. My name is Kirian Umayo. Thank you for joining us.
And I'm Kingsley Osadolo. I joined my colleague Kirian to also welcome you to the program. We're broadcasting live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority from our Abuja headquarters studios. Of course, in the course of the program, we have our complimentary segments of business, newspaper review, and others. For now, let's join Comfort Amudu with the highlights of the morning news. Good morning, Comfort.
Good morning, Kingsley and Kirian. Here's the morning news. President Muhammadu Buhari has approved framework for implementation of the Petroleum Industrial Act effective immediately so that the envisaged competitive and resilient oil and gas sector begins to take shape. In his first public statement on the new law, the president disclosed that in the last 10 years, Nigeria lost an estimated $50 billion worth of investments due to the uncertainty created by the non-passage of the bill.
I appeal to the host communities to look carefully at the contents of the bill, which in the implementation will bring real and lasting benefits to them. I am therefore directing all relevant ministries, departments, and agencies of government to fully cooperate in ensuring the successful and timely implementation of this law.
The Federal Executive Council has approved the construction of a new airport in Yobe State for enhanced connectivity and improved security within the Northeast region, to be known as Chakao Airport. The project is expected to cost more than 6.2 billion naira. Minister of Aviation Hadi Sirike announced this while briefing newsmen after meeting of the council presided over by President Muhammadu Buhari.
This will generally answer the question as to the growth and development of civil aviation, and also to show our preparedness for emergencies and military operation and other security agencies.
Meanwhile, the federal government has flagged off a free medical outreach for public health situation analysis and alternative livelihood projects in Rivers State. The project is in continuation of the full implementation of the UNEP report on Ogoniland.
The provision of water is one of the cardinal points of this remediation. And today we are not just cleaning the soil and the groundwater, but also providing water, as you can see the evidence.
Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed has reassured the international community that Nigeria is not a failed or failing state. He gave the reassurance during media engagements with international media organizations in Washington, D.C., United States. The minister later spoke with Nigerian journalists who accompanied him on the trip.
The narrative about the war against insurgency, and the truth of the matter is that Nigeria is today winning the war. And that if reports about the droves of, insurgents who have come to surrender their arms and pledge loyalty to the federal government, anything to go by, we are clearly, definitely winning the war.
And back home in Nigeria, the House of Representatives Committee on Privatization and Commercialization has expressed delight with the performance of privatized public firms under the privatization policy and will be taking legislative actions towards their optimum performance, which will in turn create more jobs. The committee's leadership disclosed this after an oversight visit to Port Harcourt to ports and terminal operators at the Nigerian Port Authority, Port Harcourt.
The efficacy of such in these meetings, from this place when it was taken over and currently how it is. Even though there are some small bottlenecks which we intend to address moving into our legislative balance, we believe that by and large it's still a very good one. And
what they've just done now, sitting with the parties to look at how things could be improved, is just a very serious task.
Nigeria is getting set to construct a 10 megawatts capacity multi-purpose research reactor for medical purposes, amongst other activities. Preparations are in top gear following consultations with relevant stakeholders on feasibility study requirement for the deployment of the technology in the country as required by the International Atomic Energy Agency.
The power will be around 10 megawatts, which will be able to produce enough radioisotope. Remember, in the whole of Africa, it's only Egypt and South Africa that has a reactor that can produce radioisotope. And even that of Egypt is not producing now, so only South Africa. So this day is a need. So this reactor will now serve the West African community if it comes on board. So it's very important that Nigeria should take the lead in having this kind of facility for the purpose of treatment of cancer and other ailments in Nigeria.
And Nigeria and Sierra Leone are collaborating to boost security in the West African sub-region. To this end, the Minister of Internal Affairs of that country and Nigerian's Minister of Police Affairs met to strengthen the security architecture and support each other.
We must continue to appreciate Nigeria. As earlier said, that those officers that went to Nigeria today, some of them are in a strategic command in the Sierra Leone police, giving their best.
We shall sustain our collaboration and will keep supporting them in the area of training and capacity building at all levels.
And in health, the rate of COVID-19 infection remains high with 1,149 new cases recorded in the last 24 hours. In the latest figures released by the NCDC, Lagos State leads with 618 new cases, followed by Rivers with 157, Akwa Ibom 94, Oyo 56, Edo 36, FCT 34, Ogun 31, Ekiti 20, Delta 16, Abia 5, Nasarawa 5, Osun 5, Cross River 4, Plateau 3, Sokoto 2, and Kano has 1. Nigeria now has 184,593 confirmed cases, out of which 167,738 were treated and discharged, while 2,236 have died from the virus. Now we take a break. The program will continue with Kingsley and Kieran right after the break. Good morning.
I have got my car for full body work.
Madam, look, we will shine this car.
Wait. This cough doesn't sound good at all. What are you doing about it?
Oga doesn't want to go to the hospital so that they won't say he has COVID-19.
No, now. Cough is a sign of different infections, including tuberculosis. You would only know which cough it is if you go for testing.
Kai, I've been coughing for more than 2 weeks now.
There's no need to fear. I have done this test myself. To know the right treatment for the particular cough you have, you must first get tested.
Oga Chekamo, make you dey sure, because
who no go?
No go, no.
Check that cough for tuberculosis.
Chekamo, make you dey sure.
If your
your cough is more than 2 weeks, it could be tuberculosis. TB tests and TB treatment are free. Just call the National TB Hotline on 3340 for information on where to get the test. This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Health with support from the American people.
We are all Nigerians. Against all odds, we shall and must remain united. We may have our challenges, our problems, and setbacks. However, together we shall overcome them all. What doesn't break us shall make us stronger. This is the mindset that shall bring peace, progress, and prosperity to our beloved country. Do not let tribal and religious sentiments govern how you think, act, or feel. Don't be influenced by those who want to destroy our precious national unity. Everybody who is a Nigerian is your brother and your sister. This is the mindset of the new Nigeria. It is also the mindset that we must all adopt. Let us support each other in creating the Nigeria of our dreams. This message is from the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA.
Admission forms into NTA Television College JOS 2021-2022 2-year National Innovation Diploma Program are on sale from 9th of August to 29th of October 2021. Candidates who wish to apply for admission must have 5 O-level credits in relevant subjects including English language and mathematics. The courses available for application include film and television production, broadcast journalism, and television engineering technology. The admission forms can be obtained at NTA Television College or any NTA station nationwide at the cost of 7,500 naira only. Payment for the form is through remitter platform only in favor of NTA Television College. For more inquiries, please call 0803 079 5335 or 0806 980 9807. Management Announcer.
Leeds United will look to scrape themselves off the bottom of the table when they welcome Everton to Elland Road in their second game of the season. This Saturday, it's Leeds United versus Everton on the Premier League Live, showing on the network service of the NTA from 2:30 p.m. The Premier League Live is brought to you by Baba Ijebu and powered by Integral.
You're watching Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. It's time for business news, and here is our correspondent, Comfort Amodu.
Over time, micro, small and medium enterprises in Nigeria have developed the capacity, quality and brand of locally made products to penetrate new markets and establish strong cross-border supply chains with trade partners in intra-African markets. To this end, small business owners are soliciting the assistance of the federal government in the area of regulatory framework, certification and logistics as the government works towards shoring up e-commerce and developing continental and regional value chains in agribusiness and service sectors.
Funding is an issue, especially for women. Funding is an issue. Banks are not ready to hear jack.
Could be better if we have international certifications, because with international certifications we'll be able to compete with other countries.
Definitely, with a population of 1.2 billion, that must be something for Nigerian exporters to aim for.
When you have a support from the government, at least it will enable your business to grow more.
The small business owners also propose harmonization of taxes for SMEs and financial inclusiveness for women as government strategizes to deepen economic integration on the continent.
Many thanks, Comfort, for the business package. Next, newspaper review.
Newspaper reviewer Bayo Atoibe is with us in the studios. Bayo, good morning and welcome to the discussion.
Thank you, Kingsley. Good to see you. You look refreshing. Welcome. Good morning, Kirian. Good morning,
Bayo, it's good to see you. You're welcome. Yes. Okay, let's start with the leadership newspaper. leadership newspaper. Government agencies misappropriated 4.9 trillion naira in 2019. The second to AUGF. As federal government approves 21.11 billion for aviation education. That's on page 4. Petroleum Industry Act. Experts fault federal government 12-month implementation plan. It's on page 4. Say no to infrastructure in place for effective implementation. NNPC can't wind down in 6 months. Law will reduce government revenues. FIRS. Progressive governors hail Buhari. Niger Delta demands restructuring. All right. Now, Sanusi's exposed on APC has vindicated us, according to PDP. So on page 6. Legal Privileges Committee disowns list of new SANs. That's on page 9. 2 bomb squads, 1,000 officers for Olu of Warri coronation. That's on page 9. Deadly protests rocks Afghanistan. That's on page 6. ISWAP sacks top leaders over mass surrender of terrorists. Bandits kidnap 8 pupils in Katsina. Gunmen kill 6 in Plateau. All that on page 8 of the leadership newspaper. APC fixes September 4 for local government congresses. That's on page 8 of the leadership newspaper. Now over to Kinsley.
Okay, we'll take a look also at the front page of the Nation newspaper. From above the name flag, you have the following headlines. Gunmen kill 17 in Zamfara and Plateau states. 50 abducted. Punish Chibok schoolgirls violators. That's on page 4, and girls must be rehabilitated. NNPC targets ventures in gas-fired 5,000 megawatts. Tight security in Kano for Buhari son's wedding. That's on page 4. Declare Buni-led caretaker panel illegal. APC chief tells court. And APC council congresses for September 4th. How I have managed diabetes for 35 years by Obasanjo. Now, that story is indicated as being on page 4. I've been trying to look at the story, look out for the story. I can't find it there on page 4 of the paper. So, while Bayo is discussing other headlines, we'll try to see where exactly that story is located. How I've managed diabetes for 35 years by Obasanjo. Unilag reopens, that's on page 18. Buhari, that's the kicker, $50 billion investment lost in 10 years without oil sector law. And Sylvia's implementation panel on PIA gets 12 months mandate. Now, inside, that's the sidebar you have there with the number of riders as headlines. PIA will deplete tax revenue. FIRS laments. Oil Act can be amended, says Lawan. And South senators plead with HOSCOM. Blasphemy case. Sharia court to rule on San's appearance. And FEC approves 21.11 billion naira for aviation, education, and other contracts. That's on page 6. Bio.
Thank you, Kinsley. Let's start with the development on the Petroleum Industry Act. President has named an 8-man steering committee to supervise the process of implementation of the aspect of Petroleum Industrial Act. The committee is headed by Minister of State for Petroleum, Timi Silva, and has 12 months to complete the assignment. President Muhammadu Buhari, while inaugurating the committee, presiding over the formal ceremony of yesterday, said he wants host communities to embrace the new regulation as it brings lasting benefits to them. The Senate President, Ahmed Lawan, also said host communities have been specifically provided for in the Petroleum Act. He stressed that funds should go there directly. We want to see people who will be appointed taking it as a trust and doing what is right. He said enacting the law after so many years is significant. He also emphasized that host communities are winning. It may not be exactly what they had hoped for, but from $0 to $500 million. And with that, such issues will be further addressed in future. He said no act of human activity can be stress-free. So when we see issues, the National Assembly is always there, bring them up, and we can amend them in the future. There are concerns expressed by the governor of Plateau State, Simon Lalong, after he held meetings with leaders of Fulani and Irigwe over ceasefire, because in spite of curfew imposed in Basa local government area, just north and just south, apparently some killings have still been going on. The federal and Plateau State government has promised to fish out and prosecute the perpetrators of the Rukuba killings of 22 travelers. Meanwhile, some students who were feared stranded in the Jos University premises have been evacuated. Taraba State government has confirmed evacuating her students from hostels around Jos. Some political leaders in Plateau also chartered a luxury bus to evacuate students who were trapped at the Abuja, Naragota, and the village hostels. Meanwhile, in Niger State, there's been anxiety about parents of the Tanko Islamia School of Tegina. They say their children have been in custody for 79 days now. The proprietor of the school has sold part of his plot for about 50 million and have sent those money in 2 tranches to the kidnappers. The kidnappers are still demanding another additional 20 million and 6 motorcycles estimated to cost about 3 million. The parents are lamenting that government apparently is not doing enough for them. They stress that the initiative put by the state government to rescue the Commissioner of Information should also be applied to rescue their children. The new Commissioner of Police, Monday Kurias, who was going on a familiarization visit, has promised that security agencies are up and doing and the children will soon be released. The secretary to the state government, Ahmed Matani, says government wanted to use military action, but the parents were very reluctant. Meanwhile, in Ebonyi State, Governor David Umahi has said that some persons in the southeast are responsible for the violence going on in the region. Reacting to the stay-home order of the proscribed separatist group IPOB, he asked the people of the region to speak against rising cases of violence. He says there is nothing like unknown gunmen, as those killing and the ones being killed are all citizens of the zone. The governor says security personnel who have dedicated their lives to protecting the people do not deserve to be killed. No one should wage war in the southeast. Our people, especially the youth, should rise and condemn such acts. He said that he has directed security agencies and the Ebubeagu to flush out unruly behavior from Ebonyi State. Meanwhile, in Ibadan, some youths have protested the killing of an apprentice, a printer who was allegedly shot dead by the Western Security Network, otherwise known as Amoteco. They conveyed the body of the youth and dumped it in front of the state secretariat protesting. The protesters also alleged that 2 youths were similarly allegedly killed around the Eid al-Kabir celebration by the same Western Nigeria security outfit. The state commander of Amateku, retired Colonel Olayinka Olayanju, says that the incident will be investigated and those found culpable will be brought to court. Meanwhile, anti-police rights men were deployed to prevent breakdown of law and order. The draws of the African Cup of Nations has been held. The championship is coming on between January 9th and February 6th, and Nigeria, 3 times African champion, is placed in Group D, where they will take on Egypt, Sudan, and Guinea-Bissau. Meanwhile, a Nigerian quartet has won gold at the Under-20 Championship currently going on in Nairobi, Kenya. The quartet of 2 male and 2 female broke the championship record when they returned a time of 3 minutes, 19.7 seconds. In the men's 100-meter dash, team captain Godson Ogenebrume also returned a fastest time of 10.22 seconds. This is some positive news coming after the shock disappointment that we had from the Tokyo Olympics. Meanwhile, the athletes who have always done Nigeria proud, the Paralympics athletes of Nigeria, have arrived the Kasaragu camp of the Tokyo Paralympics, which is due to begin on the 23rd of this month. The captain of the team, Lucy Ejike, says that they have been training seriously and they hope to bring a lot of glory to Nigeria. It may be recalled that Nigeria first participated in the Paralympics at the Barcelona Games in 1992. In 2016, Nigeria became the first African team, the best African team there, and were 17th in the world. They had won 8 golds, 2 silver, and 2 bronze. There's equity in the Osun State. The state government has declared a public holiday on Monday to mark what is described as Isese Day. This is the day that the traditional rulers set aside, the Monday after the Friday that they mark Osun State Festival. In Osun State, all the 3 religions are accorded prominence in public functions. If there's any public function, there will be prayer said in Christian faith, the Islamic faith, and the traditional faith. And so they are giving public holiday for the traditional worshippers, just as they give for Christmas and Eid al-Fitr and Eid al-Kabir.
All right. I don't know. Is there any other striking story on these papers that can be reviewed? But if in the absence of that,
I was just talking earlier about this headline here, how former President Obasanjo says he has managed diabetes. The headline is there on the front page, but the story is not inside the paper. So I believe that must have been some production snag. It will be interesting to see how, to read how...
He has managed it for 35 years.
35 years.
Yes.
Yeah,
it shows that diabetes is a debilitating ailment, but it can be managed.
That's right. The same thing with high blood pressure.
Yes.
Yes. So what is the trick for former President Obasanjo? He's in his 80s now and he's still very active.
I think he should share his experiences.
That's what I wanted to read out.
But that paper did not capture the details of...
it's just a headline. The story is missing inside.
It's on social media as well. Yes. You can have some now, editorial.
Yes.
Rescue abducted school children.
Again, the editorial is happening on the unfortunate incidents that we have been having with kidnapping of school pupils. And unfortunately, the perspective being given to it on the media tend to sometimes sensationalize it. For instance, there's a report about students in Kaduna State going back to school in Mufti. But the factual report about it is that it's JS3 students who have had to go back to school to write their current examinations that are going back to school. But the impression is creating that all schools are opening and students are going back in Mufti, which is not correct. But this current editorial is happening on the fact that it's now 79 days since the Teginas peoples were abducted. If you remember, the FGC Yauri, they spent 63 days in captivity. The Bethel students were kidnapped, abducted since July 4th, and they are still there. And the editorial is happening on the fact that apparently, when VIPs are abducted, they seem to be rescued very quickly. But when school pupils are abducted, they tend to spend a long time in captivity. The editorial is stressing that the initiative used in rescuing the VIPs should also be applied to rescue these innocent peoples who have been languishing under rain and shine with the criminals.
Well, I don't know. I think I also mentioned the fact that if the military wants to apply force, that the parents are skeptical about doing that in Niger State.
They don't want that. Yeah. But there's another sad development in Niger State. The parents are worried because the owner of the school has sold a plot worth about 50 million, and in 2 tranches he has sent the money to the bandits. The bandits are still demanding 20 million and 6 motorcycles. Not only that, a sad development was that an honorable member, visited an association of members to sympathize with them. When he was departing, he made a gesture and gave money. Immediately after he departed, the bandits called and informed them that somebody has visited you, he has just given you this amount of money, which shows that the bandits have people around everywhere giving them information. So we are the causes of some of these problems.
All right, but let's concentrate a day on this segment. We hope to see you again tomorrow for more analysis.
Thank you.
You are watching Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the NTA. We'll take a short break now. When we return, we shall be focusing our attention on the topic for today, which is the Electoral Offences Commission Bill. Do stay with us.
Arise, O Nigerians. Let's applaud the courage of Flight Lieutenant Abayomi Dairo, aka the Aggressor, for his skillful and dogged escape from the bloodthirsty bandits in the forest of Zamfara State. 3 hearty cheers also to all military and security personnel who are tirelessly protecting fellow Nigerians from insurgency and banditry while maintaining peace and order. Nigerians are proud of Abayomi Dairo and all our gallant men and women in uniform for sacrificing so much to keep us safe. We admire your courage and we say thank you. God bless the armed forces. God bless Nigeria. This message is from the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Dear compatriots, our country can be as great as we want.
Let us all commit ourselves to its greatness.
We must be willing to set aside our differences, unite and stay as one.
In our expansive landmass, human and material resources, and plurality lies our strength.
Let our challenges lead us to rediscover our common ground, and together, let's find solutions.
This will take some time, so it requires patience, tolerance, and forgiveness from every one of us.
Let all hands come on deck to protect and transform our country.
Let us unite and see each other not as adversaries, but as brothers and sisters.
Together, we can build a better Nigeria for ourselves and for the next generations.
This message is brought to you by the National Orientation Agency, NOA, with support from Nigerian Television Authority, NTA.
He's falling sick so frequently, either fever or stomachache. I keep him away from junk food.
She also feeds me apples. She says an apple a day keeps...
If you want to keep germs away, then also wash your hands regularly with Dettol soap.
Meaning?
Germs and disease spread through the hand also. For this, use Dettol soap. Dettol protects from up to 100 illness-causing germs. Dettol soap is endorsed by the Nigerian Medical Association. Be Dettol sure.
Finally, the hero of Nigeria's democracy has arrived. He shall usher us into a new phase of development, peace, and prosperity. He is the father of the new Nigeria, His Excellency President Muhammadu Buhari, GCFR. Welcome to another season of giving Nigerians hope yet again. We are sure of a great future for both ourselves and generations yet unborn. We look forward to your leading us as a nation into our manifest destiny. Though the challenges against us as a people are many, we know that your leadership shall set us on the right path to our greatness. A new dawn beckons on us all, and having you as our president is a precursor to this. Thank you for believing in Nigeria. This message is from the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA.
We should understand that the well-being and the security of this country is the paramount to any government. Prior to now, we are doing more of defensive activities to protect our bases and fight the war when we are challenged or when an objective is attacked. But right now, what we do is to carry the battle into areas where the banditries or the Boko Harams or whatever. The Nigerian Army has brought into its platforms the VT tanks, main battle tanks, helicopters, Augusta 135, the MiG helicopters, which can operate even in the night, the Super Tucanos that are about to be launched.
This message is from the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Leeds United will look to scrape themselves off the bottom of the table when they welcome Everton to Elland Road in their second game of the season. This Saturday, it's Leeds United versus Everton on the Premier League Live, showing on the network service of the NTA from 2:30 p.m. The Premier League Live is brought to you by Baba Ijabu and powered by Integral.
It's Good Morning Nigeria, live on NTA's network service. Now, as a prompt for our conversation on the Electoral Offences Commission bill, let's listen to this background report by Joseph Odson.
Ballot box snatching, illegal supply of voter cards, printing of voters' register, electoral documents, and importation of mechanisms to influence outcome of elections are just few among many other electoral offences characterizing elections in Nigeria for decades. Experts have attributed to a large extent poor outcomes of elections and bad governance in Nigeria to electoral fraud, stealing the collective will of citizens to elect credible leaders. Inability of the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) to prosecute electoral offenders is said to be serving as encouragement to perpetrators of these crimes. However, things are about to change as the Senate passes the National Electoral Offences Commission bill, which seeks to give INEC additional powers to carry out investigations into electoral offences and prosecute offenders. Among recommendations of the bill include at least a 5-year imprisonment or a fine of at least 10 million naira or both for any officer or executives of any association or political party that engages in electoral fraud, 15 years imprisonment for any person involved in ballot box snatching, supply of voter cards to persons without due authorization, and unauthorized printing of voter register, election documents, and importation of any device or mechanism by which ballot papers or results of elections may be extracted. But if assent to by President Muhammadu Buhari, will this framework ensure decrease in the level of electoral impunity, pin down bad elements causing damage to the process, and pave way for credible, free and fair elections in Nigeria? Guests on Good Morning Nigeria will soon x-ray the bill and speak on its impact.
Well, we thank you, Joseph, for that background. And now let's introduce the first two guests that we have here in the studio. Festus Okoye, and that's Senator Kabir Ibrahim Gai, will be joining us in just a moment.
All right, gentlemen, once again, pleasure to have you with us on the program this morning. Let's begin with Mr. Festus Okoye, who is the INEC National Commissioner in charge of information. We have, of course, had the campaign for the establishment of an Electoral Offences Commission. And here we are, the Senate is said to have passed the bill already for this particular purpose. But being an insider in INEC yourself, is this commission potentially a surplusage or it's a necessity? And if so, what are your reasons?
Well, you know, I was a member of the Electoral Reform Committee established by the then President Yar'Adua in 2007 to look at the whole gamut of our electoral process. And this particular committee did recommend, as at that particular time, the establishment of an Electoral Offences Commission and Tribunal to deal with issues around the electoral offences. And if you also look at all the other panels and tribunals and commissions that have been established all through this period, all of them recommended the same thing. I was a member of the National Conference established by President Jonathan in 2014, and we also recommended the establishment of this particular commission and tribunal to deal with issues around the electoral offences. The commission, as an institution, has also said that the country needs a separate commission to deal with issues around the electoral offences because, one, the commission does not have the capacity, does not have the personnel, and also does not have the issues around the tools to properly and comprehensively investigate electoral offenses. So I do not think that it is a surplusage. I think that it is an idea whose time has come. We need to, as a people and as a nation, to break the cycle of impunity that has pervaded our electoral process. So I believe that since we more or less conduct elections all year round, the commission will have work to do all year round because our elections have become completely staggered. So I don't think it's a surplusage. I think it's an idea whose time has come.
Now, talking about a commission that will take such a responsibility that you are talking about, what should be the structuring of this commission? Who are eligible to be a part of this commission? And again, who appoints the commission? Because in Nigeria here, we have seen situations where we've had commissions, we've had committees, and you know, at the end of the day, who pays the piper begins to dictate the tune. So, how will this commission be structured out of the from the society? You know, I mean, who are eligible to be there?
Well, I think that this is a really germane issue. Germane in the sense that the prosecution of electoral offenders, the arrest of electoral offenders, and the investigation of electoral offenders are things that are politically loaded. Being politically loaded, you need a commission that is completely independent to give a sense of fairness, a sense of justice to those who may likely be arrested. So the composition of the committee and the appointing authority for this particular committee is very, very fundamental. I have looked at the bill proposed by three distinguished senators, distinguished Senator Kabiru Gaya, distinguished Senator Omo Agege, and distinguished Senator Kyari. And I believe that the composition that was recommended is not the type of composition that such a committee should have. For instance, they recommended that we should have the commission should have a chairman, should also have one additional member and a secretary. These are the ones who are supposed to be independent. And then there will be a representative of the Inspector General of Police, a representative of the National Human Rights Commission, the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission or his representative, a representative of the Legal Aid Council, and so on. I saw a membership of almost 18, and I don't think that it needs such a membership. What we need is a very compact commission made up of maybe 7 members, drawn from the society and made up of persons of unquestionable integrity that have expertise in security, have expertise in law, have expertise in human rights, representative of gender, and so on and so forth. And these people should ordinarily be appointed by the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, subject to confirmation by the Senate. But I am also aware that there have been clamor that such a committee or such a commission or membership should be appointed by the National Judicial Council so that they can be completely and absolutely independent. So I think that we need to take a second look at the composition of the membership recommended by the distinguished members who proposed the committee in the Senate. I believe that what they recommended is not adequate and will not guarantee the type of independence we want. And they also recommended that some of the members should be part-time members. But if you look at the composition, the number of part-time members and the number of persons who are going to be permanent, you will see that the part-time members outnumber those who are going to be permanent. And that, for me, it does not sit well. It does not give you that independence it requires. It does not remove that perception that it may be used for political witch hunt. So we need a commission that is completely independent and will be seen to be independent of both the executive, the legislature, and other interests in the society.
Thank you, Mr. Festus Okoye. Let's bring in now Dr. Saeed Hussein. Dr. Hussein, what is your take on the Electoral Offences Commission bill?
Thank you very much. I think I'll firstly echo a lot of what the good commissioner has said about this being a development that in certain respects is way overdue, in fact. So it's certainly a laudable development because from various corners of the society for over a decade now. There have been strong recommendations to separate the regulatory responsibilities of INEC from its operational activities, because simply put, INEC has been overburdened with much more than it can handle, and this has to some extent meant that offenders in elections have been able to get away without being prosecuted or properly investigated. So this move by the Senate to actually take this recommendation into account in the passage of this bill is certainly laudable. Nonetheless, there's still work to be done in making sure that it doesn't remain just a commission on paper, or that it doesn't just fill a gap, but that it actually is independent, as the Commissioner has also said, and that it is empowered in terms of the human resources, in terms of the material resources, to be able to effectively prosecute and investigate cases of electoral offense. So I think if that further step is taken to institutionalize its independence and to provide it with the necessary resources and manpower to carry out its duties, then we can actually see some progress in the regulatory conduct of our elections.
Now, Mr. Okoye also spoke about the composition of such a commission. You're a researcher, and I'm sure you have researched into the electoral process of other democratic settings across the globe. What would be your take, respect to who should belong to this commission?
I think the underlying value that the composition of the commission should seek to secure is that of independence, meaning that those appointed to the commission have to be parties that are distant from the electoral process, are not some of the parties within the electoral process, and can take an impartial view of the proceedings of elections, of party campaigns, and make an assessment of where there have been infractions in such a way that a variety of social actors, both those who participate in the elections and those on the outside, can feel much more confidence in the process. So I think more critical than at this stage identifying specific individuals or entities is establishing that value and making sure that the independence of whoever is appointed is absolutely secured. And I believe that more than anything will give an assurance to key stakeholders in society and Nigerian citizens that this is something that will protect their vote and be in their democratic interest.
All right, thank you, Saheed. Let's come back to Festus Okoye. Mr. Okoye, what do we know about the proposed powers of the commission? What will be the scope of the activities of the commission if it does become a reality?
Well, I think that the commission is basically established to investigate electoral offenders, arrest electoral offenders, and also prosecute electoral offenders. Now, if you look at Section 150 of the Electoral Act 2010 as amended, that particular power was initially domiciled with the Independent National Electoral Commission and its officers, or any other legal practitioner appointed by it. So it was our staff that we are prosecuting some of these electoral offenders. But it's one thing to prosecute. It's also another thing to have the power to investigate and also the power to arrest. The police must have to arrest first, carry out investigation before a file is moved to the commission for purposes of a prosecution. And sometimes there's a gap. One of the big challenges that has occurred in relation to the arrest, investigation, and prosecution of electoral offenders relates to the fact that some of these electoral offenses occur on election day. And some of the officers that are on duty on election day are not necessarily officers that are domiciled in a particular state. Some of them are moved to a particular state on election day. So offenses are committed, arrests are made. Immediately after the election, some of those officers are moved back to their jurisdiction. So investigation is stalled, And then even when prosecution starts, you find out that a prosecution is taking place in Delta State, for instance, but the officers that worked on election day in Delta are officers from Borno State or who are ordinarily posted to Borno State. So getting them back to Delta State becomes a huge challenge, both financially and otherwise. And more often than not, you see cases being struck out on grounds of lack of diligent prosecution, and that is not good enough. But one big challenge I have with the bill relates to some of its provisions. If you look at Part 8 of the Electoral Act, the existing Electoral Act, you will see that the bill made very elaborate provisions in terms of electoral offenses. It covers issues around registration of voters, issues around nomination of candidates, issues around disorderly conduct or disorderly behavior, issues around improper use of the voter's card, issues around improper use of vehicles, impersonation, dereliction of duty, bribery and conspiracy, wrongful voting and false statement, undue influence, and so on and so forth. Now, I believe that what the bill ought to do is to recognize these offenses, either move these offenses out of the Electoral Act into the new bill, or just make a provision in the new bill to take into consideration these electoral offenses that have already been created. But what the bill did was that it engaged in what is normally called surplusage over legislation. It still legislated on some of these issues that have already been covered. And I think that by so doing, you create a little bit of confusion in terms of the fact that the offenses that are covered in the Electoral Act have received some judicial interpretation in the past. But these other ones that you are now interpreting, we create a problem. The Electoral Act has defined what is bribery and undue influence. And then you're also creating an offense of bribery in the new bill and defining it. So that is going to create a little bit of confusion. So I believe that what we should do, or what the committee should do, recognize the offenses that are already created, and then look for new offenses that are not covered by the Electoral Act, and then make provision for those new offenses in the bill, rather than duplicating issues that are already there.
Now, how will this commission operate, in terms of the fact that we also have elections that are, handled by the subnationals, state elections, local government elections, and what have you? Is it going to be a national commission that will actually, cover all manner of elections in Nigeria, or will it not be centered there? Will it be at the center, or should the subnationals have its own such commissions at that level?
Honestly, I really believe that this particular bill should focus only on elections that are conducted by the Independent National Electoral Commission and elections that are constitutionally protected. The state's independent electoral commissions conduct local government elections. The Constitution has also made provision for the state's independent electoral commissions and their procedures. So I believe that offenses that are committed when local government elections are conducted should be better handled by laws of the various states, rather than imputing them into this particular one. Imputing them into this will create its own challenges. Because, for instance, if you look at section 150 of the present Electoral Act, the courts that are given the jurisdiction to handle electoral offenses includes the magistrate courts. But in the new bill, the magistrate courts are removed. And then you have the Federal High Court, you have the State High Court, and the High Court of the Federal Capital Territory. But in local government elections, some of those offenses may be better handled by the magistrate courts. So I think that the state's independent electoral commissions and the elections they conduct should be completely removed from this particular bill, and this bill should be specialized. The commission should just handle electoral offenses relating to elections conducted by the Independent National Electoral Commission.
Okay, Mr. Okoye, thank you. Dr. Said Hussein, what would you like to see in terms of the powers and scope of the Electoral Offenses Commission? I'm asking this question. Yes, there had been proposals to have such a commission in the past, and now the National Assembly is working towards that. But the reality might be a bit more challenging. You know, we have a whole gamut of electoral offences, from petty offences that obviously misdemeanors to the big-time felonies, including, of course, capital offences when persons get murdered on election day or when they are snatching ballot papers. What would you like to see ordinarily?
I think optimally we would like to see an Electoral Offences Commission that has the power to not only investigate and prosecute offenders, but also to make arrests, because the current situation is one wherein the degree of offences seem to surpass the capacity of the agencies that are tasked with making such or conducting such investigations, arrests, and prosecutions. So there's clearly a lacuna there that if it's not filled, will continue to encourage impunity in the practice of our democracy. So this commission needs to be one that is empowered to conduct the full gamut of activities that span from making investigations to prosecuting offenders and also conducting arrests. And frankly, without wading too deeply into the legal issues, it's clear that these offenses occur not only in national elections, but also at the state level and also at the local government level. And this extent of impunity cutting across the three tiers of government means that democracy, even at the level where it matters most, at the locality, continues to be undermined by all sorts of actions from, as the Commissioner has said, improper uses of the voting card to what we've seen now become a common practice of offering monetary or other forms of inducement to voters, to underage voting. This clearly occurs from the most local level all the way to national and presidential elections. So a commission that's empowered to carry out the necessary activities to limit these sorts of activities, I think will go a long way in strengthening our democracy. And that's what I think Nigerians have been clamoring for over the past 2 decades of our democratic experience. One thing to highlight, though, is that this will certainly also require some working out in practice. So as you mentioned earlier, when thinking about how to progress our democracy, we have to draw from the experience of other democracies. But I think no experience is as informative as our own. So some of the specifics and peculiarities of how this commission ought to operate will be worked out in practice, and there's no escaping that. But I think starting from a solid baseline that actually empowers this commission to be independent and actually gives it a range of tools to help it operate will be a necessary starting point.
I was just wondering, Kieran, Mr. Okoye, I want you to speak to this. How do we expect the Electoral Offences Commission to have powers of arrest, powers of investigation, powers of prosecution? When they are prosecuting, would they be prosecuting as a tribunal, that's to say as a commission sitting as a tribunal, or prosecution will now take place in any of the courts specified, say in the bill, whether state high court or its equivalent at the federal level? What are we talking about? Because I mean, to have all of these powers fused into one entity just might raise some jurisprudential questions.
Well, I think that the commission is structured after the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, so that it will have the power to arrest, power to investigate, and also its officers will be the ones that will prosecute these matters in court. So I think that is structured around the EFCC and the ICPC. So I think that it is, if it is structured that way, the implication is that there won't be this gap that exists between what the commission was doing before, where a different agency was doing the arrest and investigation, and then a different commission was doing the prosecution. So when you fuse these powers into one, it makes for better coordination. It also makes for better management. But having said that, I have also looked at some of the provisions of this new bill, and I'm really bothered at some of the things that have been put into the bill and the implication it will have on our national interest. For instance, if you look at Section 25 of the bill, it talks about prohibition on campaigns against the national interest. And if you look at Section 25, subsection 1C, it talks about, it says, no person shall propagate or cause to be propagated anything or information that causes or is capable of causing people to vote on the basis of any religion, community, caste, tribe, language, or territorial region. Now, the question I have asked myself is this. When somebody is propagating the concept of zoning, does that not mean propagating the concept of territorial region in relation to elections? And when somebody is saying that my community has been marginalized and my community is the turn of my community to produce a president or produce a governor or produce a senator at this point in time, does that not mean that the person is propagating on the basis of community? Now, if you look at the offense that has been the penalty for this, the penalty for it is 20 years imprisonment without an option of fine. So I think that some of these loose clauses, some of these loose concepts have to be taken on board and properly defined so that people who propagate the concept of zoning or those who propagate the concept of a community will not inadvertently find themselves in jail where they will have an option of fine.
During the Second Republic said we are zoning to unzone. So how are you going to prosecute it?
All right. At this moment, we've just been joined by Senator Kabir Ibrahim Gaya, Chairman, Senate Committee on INEC. Good morning.
Good morning, how are you? And good morning, Nigerians. Happy to be with you.
All right. We've actually, delved into some aspects of this topic, right? But we're going to go back, since we're here now, to also share your own opinion on some of the issues we have already discussed. But first, give us an idea of the concept of this commission. Why the commission in the first place? Why did the Senate find it necessary, to now, review the electoral process and think in the direction of having an electoral commission bill?
Well, first of all, we have been actors on the election stage, and we had some experiences of elections, the problems during elections, the violence, and what other issues takes place during the elections. And the essence of reviewing an act is to make sure that where you had an experience of problems, you need to have a solution to those problems. Then you now bring up an act to modify the previous law. And based on that, we came up with this Electronic Offenses Commission. We found that the role of INEC was also mainly after supervising and running the election, they also prosecute election offenders. And that's been very difficult to happen because even INEC is being burdened by a lot of elections cases in courts. So they cannot be able to now be running the election and also punishing those who are offenders of the election. So therefore, we decided to say, let's have an Electoral Offences Commission that can be able to take care of this aspect of the law, so that we will have a commission that takes care of all those offenses. You should know there are so many things that really mar the elections, especially when people can come to the venue of the election, disrupt the election, create violence, and make people run away, or shoot guns on in the air, and then people get scared and run away, and they fill the boxes of the election with ballot paper that are stuffed with what they really want to put there. So therefore, there are a lot of things. Sanitize the election, you really have to create a law of which you can be able to punish those people who are found wanting, especially because most of the cases where we just have this issue of election malpractices and a lot of other things were due to that people were not being punished for offenses they have done during the election. So based on that, we find that there's a need for this act, and it's going to strengthen the idea or the policy that we have, that we should have a free, fair, and credible election. Those are one of the reasons why we have to create laws to make things that go the way we believe it should be, and the way that people can have confidence in our elections during and then after the elections.
I'm just wondering, because we've been discussing some of the material aspects of the proposed commission. Are we talking about a commission that has powers to arrest, investigate, and prosecute, or for better efficacy, would it not be all right to just say you have a tribunal? A tribunal that you have, of course, the powers to investigate, give it to the police and other investigative agencies. And then, instead of a commission now, you have a tribunal that sits as a court and has the powers of a high court, and appeals therefrom could then lie to the Court of Appeal. But in this case, it appears that we are creating a bureaucracy, a commission to, one, investigate, arrest, and then prosecute in the regular courts, which, of course, will be you go to the High Court in the first instance, from the High Court or Magistrate Court, depending on how it is phrased. I think that's been taken out. And then you escalate it up to the Supreme Court if necessary. So is it a commission that will be more effective, or a tribunal?
Well, you see, you have to have the commission at the beginning, because you don't just send people to tribunal without having the basis of the case. So therefore, we decided that we should have this commission. And even at the end of the day, some have the idea that we should bring up a special tribunal that would take care of this election offense. It will be much easier, and the cases can be done and finished before a candidate is sworn in. Maybe that candidate might have won the election, and unfortunately he was found disrupting the election, so that's an offense. And if the commission finds him wanting and pass him to the court, there will be judgment on the offenses he committed, and that might even make him lose his seat. So it depends on the law, where it says on that section of the act. So therefore, I believe we are trying to sanitize the system. We're trying to have people to have more confidence in the election in the country, and to have to feel really that yes, who they voted is the one being reflected at the end of the day, so they don't simply change people along the line, which it could be possible if we don't have punishment for all those acts. So therefore, that's one of our major reasons. I think there is also a need for, as you said, for a tribunal at the end of the day to be able to take care of these cases. But we are now, the law stands on the Election Offences Commission, and there are also penalties for the offences done by individuals or groups of persons or even political party, which they could be charged. And when you have a commission, a tribunal, and that could help greatly in using the act to punish those who are found wanting.
Yeah, Senator, one of the concerns raised by some Nigerians is the aspect of ensuring that the commission operates independently, and that brings to focus the issue of a composition of such a commission. From what the bill is saying, can we know the recommendations in the bill as to who should be part of this commission? And again, who appoints the commission?
Well, at the end of the day, the presidents appoint the commission, but there are procedures and process in which, for the nomination of any candidate for the commission, but at the end of the day, the president approves or nominates the candidate to the Senate, and the Senate finally pass or reject that candidate submitted to the commission, and that is the basis. But you have to start from setting up a committee to check the names of those people who are qualified to be passed to the president, and the president will be passed to us. So we'll pass to the Senate, and the Senate will be able to either screen, accept the candidate, or reject that candidate. But we need to have credible and sound Nigerians to be members of that commission.
What cognate experience or background would the law require of potential appointees as commissioners to have?
We said people of, I think, 15 years cognate experience in the service. Some of us said we could be a lawyer or any kind of field that it can be relevant to the agency of which the president have the right to choose, but should have at least minimum of 15 years experience in service.
The other point that Mr. Okoye spoke about earlier, you were not on set with us at that time, has to do with whether, for instance, the Senate had recourse to existing legislation, say in the Electoral Act 2010 as amended, which is still valid. That's to say, the Electoral Act 2010 as amended has already provided a detailed list of offenses. But that in the new bill, there is a replication, as it were, of these offenses, and some of the provisions would appear to be in tension with one another. Couldn't a drafting technique have taken care of that by referring to provisions in existing legislation deemed to be offenses?
Well, we thought about that, but we felt that each law should have where it's being covered for. It doesn't matter when the punishment are the same, even if you repeat it in this act and the other act, it's still, we believe it's still okay. You don't have to now refer to the act or so, but once it is there and we repeated it in the same Electoral Offences Commission Act, I think it's, to us, we felt it's okay. There is not a repetition. There are two different acts, and but the punishment are the same, and the act says the same verdict on those offenses. So it doesn't matter if we repeat on the act once we didn't make it different than what is in the other act.
Mr. Okoye, please, I'd like you to rewind to some of the issues you've already touched in the past, so that the Distinguished Senator will be part of it. You didn't agree with some of the sections of the bill, especially in terms of composition and other issues that you raised. Please state it clearly, so that the Distinguished Senator will hear you and see how he could also react to that.
Well, for instance, I raised issues around the composition of this particular commission, and if you look at Section 2 of the bill, it talks about the commission having a chairman who is going to be the chief executive and the accounting officer, and then there will also be a distinguished Nigerian of unblemished reputation of not less than 15 years cognate experience, and then a secretary. Then it goes further to say that there should also be, or there will be, persons who are going to serve on ad hoc basis, on a part-time basis. And these are people are going to come from, there will be a representative of the Ministry of Justice, the Ministry of Internal Affairs, Ministry of Defense, Information, a representative of the Inspector General of Police, a representative of the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, or the chairman himself, a chairman of the National Human Rights Commission, or a representative, the Commandant General, Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps, the Director General of the Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit, or his representative, the Director General, Legal Aid Council, and then 6 Nigerians with cognate experience in law and other fields. And if you look at this composition, you find out that the people coming from these other agencies outnumber those who are going to come from other agencies. So the point I'm making is that we need a commission that will be seen to be independent, both in fact and in law, and a commission that everybody will trust. But when you populate this type of commission that is going to deal with political issues, with people from government, so to say, the impression that will be created is that there is no way it can be independent. And if you also look, the question I have asked myself is, when the commission is dealing with policy issues, these people who are coming from outside, are they going to have the same voting power like those who are permanent members? If they are going to have the same voting power like the permanent members, you can see that those who are coming from outside outnumber those who are within. So it's going to create its own dynamics. So I believe that we should take a second look at the composition. And for me, the composition is too large, over 18 members. We should have a compact commission of maybe 7 members who will deal with these issues. Any other individual that needs to be brought in can be brought in as a staff. People who are going to be investigating, those who are going to be prosecuting, those who are going to be doing the arrest, and so on and so forth. But the commission itself, the policy-making organ of the commission, should be compact and should not be more than 7. That's part of the point I was making.
I think one of the reasons why we came with this number, and I want Okoye to note that he has been an ethical committee member of this committee within us, and he was part of all the debate we had during the sittings at technical committee meetings. We felt that there is a need to involve all these other agencies. Find that the police are there, the SS are there. They are part of the organization that helps in the arrest and prosecuting also of those offenders. So we felt that there's a need to have them involved so that when we are, and then we have these 6 or 7 people he's talking about, that the 6 people from the dons plus the chairman, the secretary, and then the other people of the commission. So I believe that we try to carry a lot of people on board to make sure that, yes, when we are when this board is sitting, it's having the representation of other agencies in case there is a need for respond or support from this agency. They always have a representative at that. We have the representative of the Office of the Attorney General, we have the police, we have the SS, and a lot of other agencies that were also involved. And when we did the public hearing, there were no dissenting voice about this composition, because the public hearing also guide us in giving us the strength to accept what we have in the bill, because for every part of the bill is being discussed at the public hearing, and Nigerians come out with their opinions. And if the opinions, they don't go against this opinion, we believe that it is accepted. So that's why I think the composition to us, since the bill is still in order, and that the bill has been passed at this stage, and we need to, if there's any difference from the House, it is when we will now do a concurrent. But if there is other views come also from the House, which is like what you're suggesting, it's something that we'll look at it before the bill finally comes out to the floor of the National Assembly.
I was just wondering, what is the proposed administrative structure of the commission? Are you going to have a commission with headquarters in Abuja? And to the extent that these are electoral offenses relating to elections conducted by the Independent National Electoral Commission, if an offender is picked up, say, in Sokoto, are you going to be prosecuting him in Sokoto? Or that's what is it going to, you know, EFCC has offices in virtually all the states of the Federation.
So even the INEC has offices in every state of the Federation, and therefore this commission will have offices in Abuja at the headquarters, and then other offices in the state of the Federation, in all the states of the Federation, including FCT, so that they can be able to monitor these offenses of the election during the elections, and they could be able to also resolve some issues even at the state level before pass to the federal level for prosecutions. So we are going to have officers in all parts of the Federation, and that's what is in the Act. I wish that so that the whole country can now be covered under that process.
Are we also looking at the numbers in terms of the cost of setting up this commission in the first instance and then getting the commission to run?
You see, the most important aspect is not issue of the cost, is maintaining the free and fair election. Whatever it takes for you to have peace in this country, you don't look at the cost. The essence is for you to achieve that success of having peaceful, free, fair, and credible election. And all we are doing, even the modification of the Electoral Act, is make sure that we have peaceful election, and all the so the issue doesn't matter about the cost. When we're even trying to introduce electronic voting, at the beginning it might cost us more, but we are thinking that it's going to help in determining most credible elections. So when you are spending money to maintain peace, I think it doesn't.
It's okay.
Takes
Yeah,
much.
but it just Kieran,
right.
just one point is that the distinguished senator, when you say that cost doesn't matter, where the Treasury doesn't have enough funds to release to the Commission, and then the Commission gets hamstrung, then the ends that it seeks to achieve might be compromised.
We do not hope to have to go to that level, but we expect that the Commission will be paid directly from the first line charged, and that they will have the funds to be able to handle all these issues. We must be able to have free, fair, and credible election. We also must have an election in which thereby there will be transfer from a democratic system to another democratic system.
Will this commission be under the presidency, or will it?
It is going to be an independent body.
Okay.
Because if it's not independent, we are going to have more problems because they are the ones that are in charge of maintaining the election as free and fair.
Sure. All right, thank you, distinguished Senator. Dr. Hussein, you've listened to the Senator guy with us here. And with a long history of electoral violence, of offenses in Nigeria, do you think that this commission will be effective enough to change the narrative?
So once again, I think it's important to say it really is heartwarming to see this development because again, stakeholders for the past decade at least have made this recommendation over and over. So to see progress on it is indeed encouraging. I think the devil will be in the details in terms of implementation. Fundamentally, we do desire that a commission that has the capacity to conduct investigations, to make arrests, to prosecute offenders will be institutionalized. But the extent to which it can carry out its functions will depend on these questions that are being debated now. Who and what agencies are part of the administrative oversight of the commission? To what extent can it actually be funded? To what extent does it have national spread? All of these issues, I think, are critical in ensuring that it's successful. So we've come some way in actually getting it passed in the Senate. But I think working out these details will be essential to actually guaranteeing that this organization is independent and is capable of carrying out its functions to reduce impunity in our electoral process and to actually give us that credible and free election that we so desire.
You know, I raised a question earlier, and I still would like to ask you this time, Dr. Said. Namely, when you have hundreds of thousands of actual or potential electoral offenses being committed, where do you think that a commission of this nature can make the most impact? Is it in chasing petty offenses or in chasing the bigger offenses? That's to say, the really big-time electoral crooks whom you want to bring to justice.
There's certainly a need to carry out activities that can bring to bear the big electoral offenses. I mean, of course, the huge scandals that sometimes splash the pages of newspapers do a lot to undermine the credibility of citizens in the electoral process. But the issues that you might refer to as small time or petty electoral offenses also go a long way if aggregated across all the polling units in the country in changing the outcome of elections. So optimally, we would want an agency that's empowered to look at issues spanning from petty criminality around polling units, issues of intimidation and vote buying, all the way to large-scale fraud. So I think the distinction between small and large shouldn't be what really, I think, distracts us or occupies us primarily. I think the key issue here is how can we ensure that this organization is given all the resources it requires in terms of manpower, in terms of material resources, to do the best job it can. And when we see an organization that is actually making credible efforts to resolve the electoral malpractice that we encounter in the form of legal infractions, then Nigerians will invest that organization with much more confidence, with much more of their aspiration, and we'll see it develop the capacity to do even more. But we have to see that initial investment of resources, of manpower, and of independence before this organization can really take off.
Well, gentlemen, there's one clarification I'd like you to do with respect to the nature of offenses committed on election days. There are offenses committed on election days. There are also offenses committed by the politicians themselves, who actually, facilitate the offenses on election day, because any thug that is out there to help rig an election is doing it for someone. Now, when election is declared, for instance, and somebody is declared a winner, and the person wants to go to court, is there any role the commission is going to play in this respect? Or should the person go to other courts, as the case may be? I don't know. I want to see if there is any role the commission is going to play if a politician who perhaps may have been defeated in an election feels that, look, that he was shortchanged and there was an electoral malpractice that led to his opponent to winning him. Is he going to go through the commission to prosecute whoever he's blaming for his failure to win the election?
Well, for instance, if you look at the existing electoral legal framework, Section 149 of the Electoral Act 2010 as amended, gives even the tribunals and the various courts the power to make a determination whether an offense has been committed in an election petition. And if an offense has been committed, they have the power to refer that particular offender to the commission for purposes of prosecution. And in this respect, it will be this new commission that will have that virus to make that prosecution. But I think that more fundamentally, we must find ways and means of covering issues and challenges around party nomination processes. Because while other sectors of our electoral process are really making progress, there seems to be some level of regression in relation to the political parties and the organization, in relation to party nomination processes and so on. So we must find a way of making sure that the political parties do the right thing. A political party that knowingly and deliberately nominates a candidate that they know is not qualified, nominates a candidate that they know has documents that are not real or documents that are forged, should be made to pay heavily for that particular offense. So we need to focus much more fundamentally on some of these infractions by political parties, some of these infractions in relation to their party nomination processes. If we are able to break that cycle, there's a possibility that going into the election, some of the challenges will be less.
Mr. Okoye, I'm not talking about internal, party
democracy.
Democracy. I'm talking about Party A and Party B. You have two candidates. They go for an election.
Yes.
Right. And Party A's candidate wins.
Yes.
Then Party B's candidate says, look, this man won because there was an electoral malpractice on the day of the election at so many uncertain words of the election. So now, in trying to prosecute that case, is the Party B man going to prosecute this case involving the commission because there's an electoral malpractice that led to the winning of the other candidates? So that I'm trying to understand how the process will go. Because the commission is, when it comes into existence, right, and somebody is suing an opponent for winning him via electoral malpractice. So what will be the role of the commission in the process of litigation?
Well, I think that there are two issues involved here. One, if for instance, somebody believes that his or her opponent did not win elections fairly, that bribery was used, undue influence was used, corruption was involved, and so on and so forth, it is a basis for nullifying a particular election and declaring even the opponent winner of the election, or nullifying the election and also saying that they should go for a fresh election or a by-election. And in some instances, even the individual who was declared winner may not even be a participant in the subsequent election. So that is at one level. But at another level, an offense has already been committed. An electoral offense has been committed. And what Section 149 of the Electoral Act says is that if the tribunal or the court identifies that an offense has been committed, that tribunal has the power to refer that individual or that political party to the commission for purposes of prosecution. Now, in relation to this bill, the court or the tribunal will now refer that individual or political party to this particular commission. And then this particular commission will further investigate, will do arrest, and then prosecute the electoral offender.
Well, Mr. Okoye, thank you very much, gentlemen. Thanks a lot. I said, Dr. Saheed said, by the time you begin to implement the provisions of the Act, then of course you come up with practical challenges. I do hope that the explanation that Mr. Okoye was providing a while ago doesn't lead to a two-track confirmation process of an electoral winner. Because the question that Kirian asked relating to say, oh, okay, I've been defeated in an election because there were alleged malpractices, X, Y, Z. I should first take my case to the Election Petition Tribunal. So if the Election Petition Tribunal makes a pronouncement on that, am I then going to have to wait for the Electoral Offences Commission to say, oh no, Kingsley, you sponsored thugs, or Kirian, you sponsored thugs, X, Y, Z. So as I said, these are some of the practical issues that we probably will need to clarify.
No, not necessarily.
Yeah.
For instance, if you shoot your way, for instance, if an election, a collation is going on at a collation center, and then you arrive there with people who are armed, and they start shooting, and then the police effect arrest, they don't have to wait for your matter to go to Election Petition Tribunal before prosecuting you for an offense that has already been committed. So it depends on the appreciation at that point in time of the trajectory of issues.
Yeah, well, thank you. Again, from your explanation, another issue arises. If gunmen, whether known or unknown, arrive at a collation center, you have to prove that indeed I procured them and then dispatch them for that particular assignment. All right, you're watching Good Morning Nigeria. We'll take a short break now. When we return, we'll continue with the conversation.
Ministry of Works and Housing has the responsibility to help improve the quality and the quantity of the road infrastructure assets, which are the roads and the bridges and the highways. At the moment, we have over 13,000 kilometers of road network under repair, reconstruction, or rehabilitation out of the existing 35,000 kilometers of federal road network. These 13,000 kilometers are comprising about 850 different contracts which the ministry superintends across Nigeria. We are fulfilling the mandate of our ministry to expand the connectivity of Nigeria's states and by extension the towns and villages through road transport.
A new edition of TV Guide is out exclusively with Governor Simon Lalong of Plateau State.
Since assuming office, our rescue administration has pursued the path of peace and reconciliation and restored confidence among people of different ethnic, religious, and political persuasions. Peace is back on the plateau. We are building world-class infrastructure in roads and opening up opportunities for innovation.
The edition is a compendium of mind-blowing stories for your reading pleasure, ranging from entertainment, economy, sports, media, politics, family, and lots more. Pick up a copy and keep abreast with issues and trending features within our space. TV Guide, very incisive, very educative and compelling. Grab a copy at the vendor near you or any NTA station nationwide. TV Guide, your indispensable companion.
the dawn of a new era on NTA's flagship program, the Sports Parliament, revitalized with lots of varieties, including feedback responses from viewers. Sports Parliament, the weekly sports show that exposes all the intrigues in the Nigerian sports sector and projects an agenda on the way forward for Nigerian sports. On NTA every Thursday at 10:30 p.m., running for 1 whole hour, discussing sports. The parliamentarians are more committed than ever to enlighten the viewers as the Sports Parliament takes it to a whole new level on the floor of the House. Keep a date with the Sports Parliament as motions are moved every Thursday on the floor of the House. Mr. Speaker, with his gavel to harmonize sports resolutions. The House have it.
Leeds United will look to scrape themselves off the bottom of the table when they welcome Everton to Ellen Road in their second game of the season. This Saturday, it's Leeds United versus Everton on the Premier League Live, showing on the network service of the NTA from 2:30 p.m. The Premier League Live is brought to you by Baba Ijebu and powered by Integral.
All right, you're welcome back. You're still watching Good Morning Nigeria on the NTA network service. Distinguished Senator Gaya, let's do projections now. Are we expecting this commission to come into existence before the 2023 general elections? If yes, will it be functional at that time?
Well, we even hope the commission will be ready before the end of this year, that we will pass the bill and then submit it to Mr. President for signing. You could remember, you could see recently when we passed the PIB, it didn't take time. The President signed the bill, and we just hope this Electoral Offences Commission and the Electoral Act will also be passed within this period, and we need to get it passed before the election period so that the Commission can start immediately and be able to take effect and be able to establish the commission in such a way that it will be benefit to the Nigerians. And I believe that within this year, this commission should be established.
Are you hopeful that this commission will be effective?
It is. I'm really hopeful, and that it also gives me strength when we had the public hearing. A lot of people turned up, and people were interested in this commission. Mostly also politicians are also, because some of those who lost election because of political violence and other maneuvers really are interested that if you do this, at least you are bringing justice close to the elections, justice close to getting good results, and then at least punishing the offenders. In most cases, election go through and the offenders get free without being punished for any offense they did. So it is a very important bill, and you find that some of the powers of INEC that we are removing to set up a special commission for that. And even the INEC themselves are very happy for the commission to be established. They are overburdened by too much pressure on the election process and procedures when they now start thinking of prosecuting. And I remember, if you ask Okoye, he will tell you a number of cases they've been going through almost after every election. And virtually in this country, election is almost every day. We have by-elections, we have the other elections that were staggered initially. So there is always an election process every day. But so I think if we remove, which we did now, and we expect the bill to be passed and signed by the President, and when it's signed, it now becomes an act, and then the process of establishing the commission will be the next thing.
I was just wondering, because the point was always made that the political bigwigs were often behind, allegedly, the frustration of the diligent prosecution of electoral offenders, even before the advent of this commission. That is to say, you arrest political thugs, and then a call comes, from wherever, say, release him or release them. And that is the end of the matter. And it is often alleged that it is politicians, those who are in the same class with you, distinguished senator, who are behind all of this. That's why I asked the question whether you are hopeful that this commission will work.
Well, I'm hopeful because we must have hope for better people to be in governance. than having people who can simply dictate how the process will be done. They know they are wrong, and they ask people to commit the offense, and yet they are not punished. That's why you find that in this there is issue even for those who encourage somebody or who mobilize people even to go to a polling unit and disrupt the election, or even to mobilize somebody to get extra voting cards or whatever process somebody does to manipulate the election. For those who even encourage them will be punished. So if it's a politician, it will be punished. If you're a political party, it will be going to be punished. So we have gone to the extent of which we intend to punish even the architects to the crisis on the election days.
I think that question by Kinsley is very, very apt, because we've experienced elections in Nigeria for a long time, and we know really what happens and the role the so-called bigwigs play, when it comes to issue of electoral malpractice. And again, let me ask this question, will this commission have the power to cancel election results if it deems it necessary, perhaps in the process of prosecuting a particular case? Can it happen, Mr. Okoye?
No. These are two different tracks. The track relating to election petitions, if you look at our constitutional framework, you can see that there are two tracks. We have what we call the pre-election matters that are handled by the regular courts. And now under Section 285 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, we have timelines for those cases. Then you have the second track. When an election has been conducted, the post-election procedures that are handled by the election tribunals, and then for certain petitions, they terminate at the Supreme Court. For senatorial, House of Representatives, and others, they terminate at the Court of Appeal, which is the final court. So it is these courts that have the power constitutionally to deal with issues around election petitions and can cancel an election, if you permit me to use that word, and order for a new election, or order for a by-election, or order than somebody else, other than the person who the commission has declared as the winner, won the election. But the election petition, this particular commission that we're envisaging that may come into being, will deal with electoral offenses and punish electoral offenders. So its remit is punishment. Either the person is fined or the person is sent to prison. But in terms of cancelling elections or in terms of returning winners, no, this particular commission does not have the power constitutionally and legally to do that.
Okay, well, thank you, Mr. Festus Okoye. Dr. Sahid Hussein, again, I would like you to speak to this. These so-called political thugs who disrupt elections, virtually in every state of the Federation, you know who the hotheads are. And these are persons who operate usually with impunity because they feel that they are covered by their sponsors, who are the powers that be. What guarantee is there that this commission can break that barrier and then, of course, compromise the acts of impunity by these political thugs and their sponsors, so that the commission doesn't begin to get the same phone calls that the law enforcement agents usually get, say, release him, release him, release him, they are our boys, and if you don't release him, you get transferred or you get demoted?
I think that's a very important question. Part of why electoral thuggery continues to exist is that the people who carry it out and the people who order them to carry it out are not punished. So it's that missing piece of actually holding people accountable for their offenses related to elections that this commission is seeking to address. Now, your question is, can this commission actually address that issue if the people who benefit from these offenses are then put in power or are then in power, in positions of power? I think one thing to keep in mind is that despite the fact that, of course, politicians are often the key beneficiaries of electoral offenses, they are also the key losers in these electoral offenses, right? So there are strong interests in actually having electoral crimes prosecuted, both within the citizenry and amongst politicians. But fundamentally, I think the value that needs to be underlined once again is that of independence. If we can ensure that this commission is insulated from the influence of politicians, insulated from the influence of power brokers in society, through the way in which its membership is constituted, through the way in which its funding is established, then I think we'll see political thuggery, both in terms of the people carrying it out and the people ordering it, reduce. But to accomplish that, once again, I think the critical value that needs to be established is that of independence. We have yet to see this sort of commission exist in our practice of democracy, so we don't have our own experience to draw from. But I think looking at the experience of other countries, even neighboring countries, having institutions of this sort that actually have the capacity and space to conduct investigations, right, to bring in those offenders and question them, or to collect evidence, goes a long way in reducing these kinds of activities. So I think that possibility is there, but critically, for it to be realized, we would need to see a commission that really is independent and really is empowered to be able to carry out these responsibilities that it's been given.
All right, Senator Gaya, your final words as we're rounding up this program.
Well, the essence of establishing the commission really is to make sure that people are punished for an offense created, whether be it those who engineered the process or sponsored the thuggery during the election or other process for the offenses of the commission. And then for the boys or the people who are used during the commission, during the commitment of the offenses. So this will help them, and I believe that the independence of the commission will give it the teeth to bite whoever been involved in the process of creating creating offenses during the elections. So therefore, I hope and pray that this commission will have the support of the Nigerians and the support of the government to make it more independent, and then the quality of the people who are going to be in charge of the commission, which the Senate will also going to screen those chairmen and members of the commission. We should suppose our people of caliber, people of interest of Nigerians at heart, who we believe cannot be dictated from by a phone call to do something that is wrong.
Ibrahim Gaya, the Chairman Senate Committee on INEC, would like to thank you for being part of our conversation.
Thank you very much.
Morning. We also would like to appreciate Dr. Saeed Hussein, his Director of Research at the Center for Democracy and Development. Thank you for being around today.
Thank you for having me.
And Mr. Festus Okoye, Honorable INEC Commissioner in charge of information, would like to appreciate.
We call him Professor Okoye. During the old electoral process, he has been our anchor man.
Yes. I do hope that these electoral offenses will actually cover pre-voting offenses. People deface posters, destroy billboards of their opponents, heads are cracked or broken during rallies. I think all these ones are all covered. And it's not only by snatching ballot papers that you commit, or ballot boxes, that you commit electoral offenses. Gentlemen, thank you for being around. Once again, let's go over now to our sports desk.
The draws for the inaugural Aisha Buhari Invitational Tourney have been held in Lagos, and Nigeria Super Falcons are squared up in Group A alongside Morocco and Mali. Group B, however, has perennial rivals Cameroon, Ghana, and South Africa's Bayana. A member of the local organizing committee representing the office of the First Lady, Dr. Wole Abodering, read Her Excellency's speech in which he appreciated the president of the NFF and the LOC, saying the tournament provides another window to meaningfully impacting the life of the girl child. Aisha Falode, who is also chairman of the Nigeria Women Football League, conducted the draw alongside other dignitaries at the event and women football legends. Rwand's Bordeaux winger Samuel Kalu returned to training on Wednesday after collapsing on the pitch at the Stade Velodrome during their 2-2 draw against Marseille on Sunday. The club took to the social media to announce his return to training. Kalu fell to the ground in the 6th minute as Dimitri Payet prepared to take a free kick amid searing temperatures at the Stade Velodrome. Players from both teams rushed to the Nigerian international and called for medical attention. The Nigerian international was able to get up and walk off the pitch with the help of his teammates holding an ice pack against his head. He resumed playing after getting treatment, but was later substituted after he appeared dazed. In tennis, defending US Open champion Dominic Thiem will miss the CS tournament and the rest of the 2021 season with a wrist injury. The Austrian withdrew from Wimbledon and has not played since the Mallorca Open in June, where he sustained the injury. He said it was a tough decision and is disappointed to not be able to defend his title in New York. The US Open begins on Monday, 30th August.
All right, now let's get some news from across the world.
Afghan President Ashraf Ghani has addressed his people from exile in the United Arab Emirates. He said that he had left Kabul to prevent bloodshed and denied reports he took large sums of money with him as he departed the presidential palace. Ghani has been bitterly criticized by former ministers for leaving the country suddenly as Taliban forces entered Kabul. The president's whereabouts were unknown until Wednesday, with speculation that he had fled to Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, or Oman. The United Arab Emirates has confirmed in a ministry statement that the Gulf nation was hosting Ghani and his family on humanitarian grounds. Afghanistan's ambassador to Tajikistan had accused Ghani of stealing $169 million from state funds and called on international police to arrest him. Ghani said he supports talks between the Taliban and former government officials and that he was in talks to return home after seeking refuge in the United Arab Emirates. All right, so that's it on Good Morning Nigeria for today. We appreciate you being with us. We're back tomorrow, same time, 7 in the morning. Until then, do take care of yourself. I'm Kingsley Osadolo.
And I am Kirian Umayo. Thank you for watching. See you again tomorrow.